You need practices. You need strategies. You need things that will propel you into the new, more exciting life that will reveal itself. Are there opportunities in this crisis? I mean, we know the disadvantages of it. I mean, they are quite obvious. I don't have to list the disadvantages. But what are the opportunities of a crisis? Well, the opportunities are that you get to re-examine your life in a new way, a new, more exciting way. You're not restricted. You get to look and evaluate, what is it that I thought was so important in my life? How was I living my life prior to this crisis in a way that was inappropriate? Maybe I was spending too much money in different ways. Maybe I was jollying too much. Maybe I had not been spending time with my family. Maybe I had neglected my spirituality. What changes can this crisis bring to me in my life? And to really re-examine your goals and to see, am I living my best self? How can I make myself a better person? And so that's what a crisis is an opportunity to look at your life and reset it and reevaluate what's important to you. Then another exercise that you do is an acknowledging. Now, you all know the acknowledging technique. And the acknowledging technique is to acknowledge yourself for successes that you've had in the past. But now, what I'd like you to do with the acknowledging technique is I would like you to acknowledge yourself that you have been in a crisis before and you survived it. Not only did you survive it, but you came out the better for it. And at the time, you had no idea how that was going to happen. I want you to remind yourself of that and acknowledge yourself that you have been here before. No, not exactly this crisis, but you have been in a crisis before and you survived it and you came out better for it. And you are a better person for it. Now, 5 years from now, this crisis will be long over, and you will be in a new position altogether. In fact, this crisis is probably going to be over in 6 months to a year. But let's project again ahead 5 years from now, where it's well in the distance. I want you to imagine you're your future self right now, and you're looking back at yourself and how you're reacting right now. Is your future self proud of how you're reacting? Is it pleased with how you're reacting? How could you make your future self really, really say, wow, you really got it right, didn't you? You really reacted appropriately. You did the things, you had the practices, you had the strategies. There's an old saying, never let a good crisis go to waste. Now, you don't want to look back 5 years from now and say to yourself, oh my God, I wasted that crisis. I let it defeat me. I was in inaction. I wasn't creative. I didn't make the changes. You don't want to say that. You want to look back at this time and say, wow, I really stepped up, didn't I? I really showed up. I really made the changes that I had to do. I really got my creativity working. I took on new skills. I took on new practices. And speaking of new practices, energetically, let's take on the practice of being in gratitude every day. Not thinking of all our problems and difficulties, but thinking of all the good things that we have to be thankful for. Let's take on the practice of kindness. Let's reach out to other people and help them in whatever way they can. Help them, encourage them. Let's take on the practice of being a better person. Let's take on the practice of doing our mind power every day. Let's take on the practice of being proactive. Let's be the person that we want ourselves to be, because that's what a crisis does. A crisis has the opportunity of going one of two ways, of either breaking you or making you a better person. And you are the one that will decide which way that's going to go. So change the narrative. Make the narrative, the new narrative, which you're going to do twice every day, is that I'm going to come out of this crisis well. I'm going to survive it. I'm going to be a better person. I'm going to be more creative, more resilient, stronger, and new opportunities are going to open up to me. I know that. That's what you project for. You acknowledge yourself that you have been here before and that you survived and came out all the better from past crises, and you will this one too, and you have a regular mind power practice. That you have these strategies, that you have these practices, and this is what you take into your life every day. And you take it one day at a time. One day at a time. And if you do that, you are going to come out of this in a tremendous, amazing way. You are going to be a better person. And you're going to be amazed at what opportunities come. In fact, I predict that if you follow these practices, you're going to look back 5 years from now, and you're going to say to yourself, that was the best thing that ever happened to me.